Even if you stay away from the world of celebrities and don't really follow what's happening in show business, there's a good chance that you've heard the name Olsen somewhere before. This is not at all strange because the Olsen twins' childhood, which fell in the 90s and the beginning of the 2000s, was made into a real show and a global product. The twins were simply everywhere, on television, on covers, on backpacks and pencil cases. Nevertheless, as is often the case in all these stories, a sad story was going on in the background, which was an inseparable element of their everyday life. Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen got the role of Michelle Tanner in the series Full House when they were only 9 months old. They played one role in turns, all in order to circumvent the provisions of California law, which severely limited the working time of children in the film industry. According to the regulations, infants could stay on the set for a maximum of 2 hours a day and spend only 20 minutes in front of the camera. With 2 actresses for one role, the creators of the series gained twice as much screen time, and they quickly began to use it to the limit. From today's perspective, it is difficult to say that the girls had any choice. They were infants, so it was difficult for them to object or express their own will. And even though their career at first glance looked like a dream come true, the behind the scenes of this fame was, as you can probably guess, much less colorful. From the very beginning of their work on the set, they were surrounded by many adult men whose behavior was extremely inappropriate. Instead of a safe childhood, the twins actually received a growing up in an atmosphere of tasteless jokes and constant sexualization. There was even a joke circulating on the set that everyone couldn't wait for the girls to reach the age of majority. It is not difficult to guess with what subtext this was said. The worst thing in all this was that none of the adults reacted to such behavior in any particular way. It was an abnormally normal thing. In theory, a guardian was supposed to be present on the set to make sure that the girls did not lack anything. In practice, however, this role was played by their acting teacher, a person hired by the production mainly to take care of how Mary-Kate and Ashley look in front of the camera, and not necessarily how the twins feel. Over time, the Olsen sisters simply became a money-making machine. It was their character that was one of the most liked in the entire series, so the whole production quickly began to revolve around them. The girls' mother very quickly, because already in the first season, began to have great doubts about her daughters' careers. This whole situation had a strong impact on their family relationships. The girls began to have separation anxiety, for example. And it is also difficult to consider it something surprising, since instead of their mother, they were surrounded by a group of adults who, you could say, played the role of temporary mothers. The Olsen sisters' mother tried to set a boundary. She wanted to withdraw, but then the production promised her the support of assistants, logistics people, and facilities on the set. The twins' mother gave in, and the series quickly shot up and became one of the most popular programs on American television. Mary-Kate and Ashley became real stars overnight. The girls appeared on breakfast shows, talk shows, walked red carpets, posed for photos, and answered journalists' questions. All this before they were even 10 years old. When they turned 11, they were already the biggest child stars in all of Hollywood. At first, their earnings were not that great. Okay, of course, it all depends on what perspective you look at it from. But in any case, for one episode of Full House, they received more or less $4,000. So, by television standards and looking at how much money series earn, the girls' remuneration was rather low, especially since they played 2, not 1. Over time, the girls' father also noticed that the money their daughters received was relatively low. He hired a lawyer, Robert Thorne. This guy was not only a great manager, but also a really good strategist. He quickly raised the rate per episode and began to arrange the whole plan, not only in terms of the sisters' performances on the set, but also in terms of building their brand. Thanks to him, a company was created whose faces were Mary-Kate and Ashley, and they, as children, officially became producers. At that time, the youngest in the entire industry. Then a long-term contract was signed with BMG, the same company that dealt with music, films, and, to put it simply, everything. And suddenly the Olsen sisters began to appear literally everywhere. The Olsen sisters became pioneers of films that went straight to VHS tapes, bypassing the premiere in the cinema. This move turned out to be a bullseye, because the tapes with their adventures sold like hot cakes. Behind this success, however, was enormous fatigue. For the girls' manager, only profit mattered. It didn't matter if the twins were well rested and fed. It was more important that they made it to the next interview, recording, or another project. The twins spent every day on the set of Full House, and between scenes they did their homework, because they also had to complete a normal school program in the meantime. Weekends were also not an ideal time for learning, because the Olsen sisters recorded their films on tape during them. Their life looked like one big race, performing task after task, like in some computer game. When the decision was made to end the broadcast of Full House, for many people from the crew, it was simply the end of a certain professional chapter. The twins, however, saw it quite differently. They were 8 years old, and their life so far was about to change by 180 degrees. After all, they grew up on the set of this series. Full House was all they really knew. However, they did not have much time to dwell on Full House, because they had a whole set of obligations to the company. Their calendar was filled to the brim. Interviews, photos, constant acting in their films, and on top of that, traveling from country to country to promote them. Their life resembled a never-ending marathon of recording, school, interviews, preparations, then recording again, and so on and so forth. And although their smiling faces, which the viewers saw on their televisions, indicated that everything was fine, the reality was completely different. The Olsen sisters were more and more tired, and each subsequent project showed that this was not the life that Ashley and Mary-Kate would have wished for. When the Olsen sisters entered their teenage years, their image began to be increasingly sexualized. Today it sounds like something absolutely sick, although probably various strange things happen behind the scenes. But the point is that